I still don't know how to explain what happened that night. I've tried over and over, but every time I start to talk about it, it sounds less believable, even to me. Still, I need to get this off my chest. It happened about 3 years ago, somewhere between Kingman and Wickenburg, out on Highway 93. If you've ever driven that stretch at night, you'll know exactly what I mean when I say it feels like driving through the edge of nowhere. There's this strange kind of silence there. Not peaceful, but heavy. Like the desert is holding its breath, waiting for something. I was driving back from a work trip in Vegas, heading home to Phoenix. It was late, a little past midnight, and I was exhausted. My phone battery was down to 3%, my GPS flickering every few minutes, and all I wanted was to see the familiar lights of home. For most of the drive, I didn't see another car, just the dark road stretching endlessly ahead, the occasional tumbleweed tumbling across my headlights, and that orange desert glow in the far distance. But somewhere past Wickiup, I noticed a pair of headlights behind me. Far back at first, too far to make out the shape of the car. I didn't think much of it. It's a long, lonely highway, but something about those lights felt off. They stayed exactly the same distance behind me for miles, never getting closer, never falling back, just there. After a while, I started telling myself it was just my tired mind playing tricks on me. But then I hit a stretch of road where the desert opens up. No turns, no hills. And I realized I couldn't see the car at all. Just empty highway stretching into darkness. It was gone. About 20 minutes later, my fuel light came on. I hadn't passed a station for at least an hour, so when I finally saw a flickering sign that read, "Gas and Go, 2 miles ahead," I almost laughed in relief. When I pulled into the station, I noticed it right away. The place looked abandoned. One fluorescent tube above the door buzzed weakly, casting pale blue light on cracked pavement. The pumps were old, mechanical, the kind with spinning numbers. But one of them was still running, as if someone had just left mid-fill. I stepped out, shivering slightly. Even though it was Arizona, the air felt colder here, like the night had thickened somehow. The store door creaked open when I pushed it. Inside, the light flickered on and off, and for a moment I thought I saw movement at the counter. A man, or maybe the shadow of one. When the light steadied, there was just an older guy standing behind the register, staring at me. He didn't say a word, didn't smile, didn't blink. Hey, I said, trying to sound casual. "Pump number 2 isn't taking my card. Do I pay inside or—" He finally blinked, slow, like he had to remember how. "Cash only," he muttered. His voice sounded hoarse, like he hadn't spoken in days. I paid him, filled up, and when I came back inside to grab a coffee for the road, the guy was still staring at me. Same posture, same expression. I don't know why, but I asked, "You get many travelers through here at night?" He just said, "Only the ones who don't listen." I laughed awkwardly, thinking maybe it was some weird desert humor, but when I looked up from the coffee counter, he was gone. Just gone. I stood there, alone, cup trembling slightly in my hand, the sound of buzzing lights echoing in my ears. When I walked outside, I could swear the air felt thicker, like it was resisting me. The moment I got back into the car, the radio came on by itself. Static first, then a song. "Riders on the Storm." I smiled, thinking it was fitting, until I realized it wasn't coming from my playlist. My phone was dead. Back on the highway, the night felt even darker. The road stretched on endlessly, my headlights swallowed by the emptiness ahead. About 15 minutes later, I saw something that made my stomach drop. The same billboard I'd passed before the gas station. A peeling sign advertising fresh pie at Judy's Diner, 12 miles ahead. I recognized the bullet hole through the word pie. I remembered it vividly. But I'd already passed it over 40 minutes ago. I laughed nervously, told myself maybe there were 2 signs. Except 10 minutes later, I saw it again. Same dent, same bullet hole. My GPS flickered back to life just long enough to say, recalculating route, before freezing on a loop of my car icons spinning in circles. That's when I started to panic. I checked my mirrors, no headlights. Checked again, still nothing. Just the sound of tires on asphalt and the rhythmic whine of wind against my window. Then I saw her. A woman, standing on the shoulder, waving me down. I hit the brakes without thinking, my tires skidding slightly on the sand. She was barefoot, wearing a white dress that looked too thin for the cold night. Her car sat a few yards away, hood up, no lights on. "Hey," I called, stepping out. "Are you okay?" She didn't answer at first, just stared at me, her long, dark hair sticking to her face in the wind. Then finally, she said softly, "You shouldn't have stopped." I froze. "What?" She looked past me, down the road. "You shouldn't stop when they're behind you." Before I could ask who she meant, she looked at my car and whispered, "They never let me leave." I looked back at her car, and that's when I noticed the dust. Thick layers of it coating every inch. The tires were deflated, cracked, like they hadn't moved in years. But there were fresh footprints in the dirt, leading from her car to mine. When I turned back, she was gone. I jumped into my car and slammed the doors, locked them. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the keys. I drove, faster than I should have, desperate to get anywhere that wasn't there. But after about 10 minutes, I saw something ahead that made my blood run cold. A flickering sign, "Gas and Go," 2 miles ahead. I screamed, hit the steering wheel, begged myself to wake up, but I didn't wake up. I just drove, and when I finally pulled into the station again, the old man was standing behind the counter, same blank stare, same cup of coffee sitting on the counter, steam rising from it. He smiled this time, just a small, crooked smile. "Back so soon?" I remember yelling at him, demanding to know what was happening. But my voice sounded distant, muffled, like I was underwater. He said softly, "You took the wrong road. Some roads don't take you home. They take you back." That's when the lights went out. When I woke up, I was sitting behind the register. The old man was gone. Outside, the pumps were still and silent. The desert stretched endlessly beyond the cracked glass. And then, after what felt like hours, I saw headlights in the distance. A car pulling in slowly. A man stepped out, confused, tired, holding his wallet. He said, "Pump number 2 isn't taking my card." And before I could stop myself, I heard my own voice reply, "Cash only." I've been here ever since. Sometimes people stop for gas, sometimes they don't. Sometimes when I look in the reflection of the glass door, I can still see my old self driving that same highway, headlights stretching forever forward. If you ever find yourself on Highway 93 and you see a flickering sign for Gas and Go, don't stop. Keep driving, because once the road remembers you, it never lets you go.
It's hard to tell how long I've been here now. The days blur together, though I'm not sure days even pass. The sky outside never really brightens or fades. It only changes shades of the same dim blue. Sometimes the horizon glows like dawn for a few minutes, but no sun ever rises. Other times a dull orange light stretches across the sand, pretending to be evening, but there are no stars afterward, just stillness, just the hum of the neon sign that says Gas and Go. At first, I tried to count the hours. I scratched marks into the counter, one for every time the lights above flickered. I gave up when I realized they don't flicker at any real interval. Sometimes it happens every few minutes. Sometimes it's weeks before they blink again. Or maybe seconds. I can't tell anymore. I've cleaned the same coffee pot 100 times, maybe 1,000. The same mug sits beside the register, a ring of dried brown circling its rim. I tried throwing it away once. When I came back from sweeping outside, it was sitting on the counter again, clean and steaming. The gas pumps outside still work. The handles are cold metal, slick with morning dew that never dries. Once in a while, I hear the faint click of a pump starting, even when there's no car out there. The numbers roll slowly, counting gallons into emptiness. The smell of gasoline drifts in through the cracks around the door, sharp and ghostly. I remember thinking that hell would be loud, fire, screams, chaos. But this quiet is worse. The silence presses down until it becomes a sound of its own, a living thing. Some nights I whisper just to hear a voice. Even then, the words come back different. Like the station itself repeats them, slightly changed. People come sometimes, or what looks like people. Headlights appear on the highway, white specks floating in the distance. They move toward me, and then the tires crunch on the gravel outside. The bell above the door rings. A traveler steps in. They all look tired. Their faces blur in my memory, shadows with eyes. One man wore a denim jacket and kept rubbing his wedding ring. A young couple argued softly about the route to Phoenix. Once a woman came in holding a map so old the paper crumbled in her hands. They all ask the same thing first. Is this the only gas station around here? I tell them yes. They pay, they fill up, they drive away. And a few hours later, if hours exist, they come again. Same faces, same words. The man with the denim jacket still rubbing his ring. The couple still arguing. The woman still holding that map, edges falling apart. They never recognize me, never noticed that they've been here before, but I remember. The first time it happened, I thought I was losing my mind. The second time, I thought maybe I was dreaming. By the fifth time, I stopped trying to explain it. I've started to think the road doesn't lead anywhere anymore. It just circles through itself, folding travelers like pages in an endless book. Every time someone stops for gas, they add another paragraph, another name that will fade when the next driver comes along. Sometimes I go outside and walk down the road. I don't get far. The desert stretches on forever. Flat sand, brittle shrubs, the broken skeleton of a billboard half sunk into dust. I've walked until my legs ache, until the station is a glowing dot behind me. Then I blink, and I'm standing inside again, behind the counter, a damp rag in my hand, cleaning the same coffee stain that never fades. I've wondered if I died out there that night. Maybe the crash never happened because I never made it to the crash. Maybe this is what happens when the road swallows you instead of spitting you out. There's a mirror behind the counter. I've avoided looking at it for a long time, but last week, or what felt like a week, I caught my reflection by accident. I don't know how to explain it, but the man looking back wasn't quite me. His eyes were darker, like he hadn't slept in years. His jawline looked sharper, his expression emptier. When I blinked, he didn't. Since then, I've covered the mirror with an old newspaper, but sometimes I hear it creak, as if someone inside the glass is shifting, waiting for me to peel the paper away. The station has smells now. Gasoline, always, but also coffee, dust, and sometimes something sweet, like rain on pavement. I think that's memory trying to remind me of something I'm supposed to miss. I can almost see the scent, the way headlights reflect on wet asphalt, the shape of someone's hand on a steering wheel, the rhythm of tires hitting seams in the road. It's beautiful for a second. Then it fades, leaving only the hum of the neon sign outside. I've learned that silence isn't empty. It's full of everything you try not to remember. When the wind moves through the cracks, I hear whispers. My name, sometimes. Other times, laughter. A voice calling, "Pump number 2 isn't taking my card." The words echo through the aisles, even when no one's there. I used to answer. Now I just listen. One night, or maybe many, I found an old Polaroid camera behind the counter. There were a few photos still left inside. I took one. The flash burned white, blinding. When my eyes cleared, the picture slid out, developing slowly. It showed the highway outside, stretching straight into the horizon. No station, no lights, no me. Just road. I took another. This time the image was the gas station, but empty. No clerk, no pumps, just the building and the sign. In the window, though, there was a shadow. A figure standing where I was. I stopped taking pictures after that. I've started keeping a notebook, scribbling down pieces of memory before they fade. Some of it's nonsense. Grocery lists, songs I half remember, names of towns. Other times the handwriting changes. Whole paragraphs appear that I don't remember writing. They talk about the travelers, about me, about the road that feeds on distance. When I read them, I get the strange feeling that the gas station is reading too. There's a kind of peace in routine. Every so often, I brew coffee, wipe the counter, watch the desert. The stillness becomes comforting, like the hum of an old refrigerator in a quiet kitchen. Sometimes I even forget there's anything wrong. I forget that I'm not supposed to be here. Then something small, like a new sound, breaks it. The static of the radio, or the click of a lighter I didn't light. That's when I remember. This isn't life. This is what happens after the road decides it isn't finished with you. I've wondered why me? Why I'm the one who stayed. Maybe the road doesn't choose. Maybe it just keeps what's left behind.
Sometimes, when the desert wind passes through the cracks in the door, I hear the hum of engines far away. It reminds me that there are still people out there, still travelers chasing headlights through the dark. Maybe one of them will find this place. Maybe one of them will make it home. But if you're hearing my voice, then maybe you already stopped once. And if you ever see the sign, flickering in the dark, a red glow cutting through the dust, don't look too long. Keep driving. Because some stories aren't meant to end. They're meant to wait. And the shadows, they're always waiting. This has been another story from Tales from the Shadows. The next one might find you before you find it.